Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Lawn Care CEO podcast. My name is Dan Ralphs, and I am joined by the CEO of the Lawn Care CEO, Aaron Suttonfield, plus one additional guest. I almost don't feel like there's any introduction needed. Like sometimes there are people you meet. It's like if I were hanging out with Michael Jordan, I wouldn't need to be able to say like, "Hey, this is Michael Jordan." Like that would they wouldn't need an introduction, and that's the moral of the story. And I almost feel like our guest today doesn't need an introduction. And honestly, one thing I love about our guest today is that it's not like he's out there like chasing this down. It's just like, hey, he's doing great work. And where great work happens, it's kind of the cool phenomena of the world today is where great work gets noticed. It's like almost hard to hide your light if you're doing great work and people will notice it and you start getting a little bit of attention. So I think that's where this has all come from for Jonas. So I get to introduce today Jonas Olson, CEO, founder, Chief Badger. Chief Badger, is that a thing?
I like that.
Chief Badger in at Turf
I like
Badger,
it.
pest control company, super successful. Tell us about. Give us the quick for those who don't know you, which I think isn't going to be very many people. For those who don't know you, give us a little bit of background, Jonas.
Yeah, started probably like most people on this call or that are listening. We all kind of started with push mower in my grandma's backyard. Pretty much knew what I wanted to do when I was 12 years old. I was making my dad pay me to mow his lawn. I was thinking I was getting paid like 15, 20 bucks, cutting like an acre
And
of
that
lawn.
feels like a lot at the time. Oh man, I'm
Yeah,
making
I was
money.
killing it.
I'm buying a new BMX bike and a Nintendo
Yeah,
64.
it was awesome. And I remember one summer, I was mowing the lawn, like I said, and a little black truck went by, and I saw them cruising over to my neighbor's house, which happened to my aunt and uncle's house. They went there, spread around the foundation of the house. They left. I was just finished up mowing the grass. It probably took me an hour. They were there for maybe 15 minutes. And I was like, I wonder what they're doing. So I kind of walked over there, strolled around, and see what they were doing. Looked at the house, checked it out, and they left an invoice back in the day on the door hanger invoice on the door. My aunt's house, I just opened the thing up, so like 130 bucks. I was like, man, it took me, an hour and a half to go cut this lawn and made 15 bucks for it. And they just made 130 bucks. So I knew that day, eventually I was going to do that someday. It kind of morphed from there though. It went to fertilization weed control route first. And then I did that for a couple of years, and then COVID hit. And COVID in Michigan was a really weird time for us. Like we couldn't do anything. We couldn't mow. We couldn't do anything. We probably had like 400 pest control accounts at the time. So we could do our pest control accounts because it's deemed essential. Fertilization, weed control was not. Mowing was not, but we could plow snow. So you could go mow lawns by yourself, or you couldn't go mow lawns by yourself, but you could ride a tractor by yourself. Strange.
Yeah, bizarre.
So
it was a bizarre time in general.
I'm just curious, like, did the grass just get super high? Like, what happened? Because I mean, I can't imagine.
Well, it was March, so like we're just about to start spring cleanup.
Okay.
It was like March. It was March 16th. Yep. It's my daughter's birthday. That's all I know. So that's just kind of what happened, and it forced me to do something that I'd never really done before. I had to think outside the box, and I was like, well, what am I going to do? We can't go do this. There's no snowfall, and we had some contracts to get us through, but we're not making any money at this point, and we didn't know PPP and all this garbage is coming. We had no idea. So I was watching my bank account deplete because we couldn't go work. So I was like, well, I got to do something. I waited till like June, and then Wisconsin's border is about an hour from me. So I was like, well, I'm just going to start driving down to Green Bay every single day, which is about 2.5 hour drive from my house. Leave my house about 5 o'clock in the morning. Went down there. Didn't really know what I was doing. I was like YouTube University and how to knock doors. And I was going to sell whatever I could. It didn't matter. Whether it was a one-time pest control, one-time fertile account, I didn't care. I just needed to make some money. Walked up to Kathy's house. I still remember her name because the first account I ever knocked. I about threw up. Walked away. Took a deep breath. Walked back up there. Didn't know what I was doing. Didn't have contracts in place or agreements, nothing like that. Knocked on the door and I sold my first account because her dog was allergic to wasps. And that's like, man, I could do this.
How many doors? How many doors before that? Before that door, that was the first one.
That was the first one.
Your first
very
door.
first one. Very first account. It was like there was a higher power looking over me that day for sure. Like I needed that quick little win to get me moving. And that was, like you said, like June of 2020. And then I just saw the writing on the wall that day. I'm like, man, I could do this. And I think I sold like 400 and some accounts roughly that year. Again, a lot of one-time stuff. I didn't really know
it's
what I was
kind of
doing.
amazing. I just want to pause on this because it's kind of amazing how our lives hinge on these little moments, right?
Yeah.
That little moment where it was like, Kathy's dog is allergic to wasps, and therefore my life is different as a result of that. It's
Yeah.
kind of magical a little bit when you think about it, that was
Yeah.
the moment.
So then then it opened back up in Michigan. So that company started
Mm.
going. So I basically had two companies side by side all of 2020, and then 2021 I had to decide what I wanted to do. And I saw the scalability of the pest control, fertilization weed control side. I saw the profits of that side. I liked the model. My area was just tough to mow in. I know there's a lot of great markets to mow in. I'm not telling people to get out of mowing. I love mowing. My market was just tough. And I know they say that all the time, but it just really was. Like my hometown is 14,000
Yeah.
people. So of those, how many can actually afford lawn mowing on a weekly basis? Not very many. And the average income here is 28,000. And the lawns are big, so you're talking average lawn size here is 15 to 20,000. So you have big equipment. So now $70,000 in equipment just to go make $1,200 a day. So it's just a tough market, and I was always one of those guys, and I had a really good mentor, and he'd never say it to me directly, but he said it to me a lot around me. He's like, it's everyone always like CEOs like, what is wrong with me? What is wrong with me? What is wrong with me? But it's not really us. It's a lot of it the market that we're in and services that we're offering. So when I figured that out, and I talked to him a little bit more, a little bit deeper, and he's like, yeah, well, I was talking about you, that's why, but you would just never say it. And
He's like, what do you know? Like
yeah,
it could be the market for some people. And he looks at you and
yeah.
elbows you.
Yeah. And so, we had a decently sized company at the time. We were doing like 2.9 at the time.
Wow.
So not like it was super small or nothing like that. Again, super small market. And so that year I just decided I was going to sell it and go all in on this pest control.
Wow.
So that's kind of what happened. And then we're 4 years in, we have 10 locations. And again, 90% pest control, roughly 10% fertilization weed control.
So you say that casually, but that is insane. Insane
Yeah.
in 4 years to have that level of growth, that level of speed. So I'm going to ask you a question.
Yeah.
I think this could be a hard question to answer. Hopefully you're okay talking about yourself a little bit. But one thing I've discovered in my career and meeting a lot of CEOs is that in some ways they're very ordinary. Like in some ways, like they have their weaknesses and faults and flaws, and they're just
Absolutely.
guys, right? Or gals.
Yep.
But usually they have a superpower. Like, and it's different for each leader. Like some people, like Aaron's got the superpower of structure and organization and simplicity and his ability to teach and inspire others. And everybody has their own superpower. What's your CEO superpower if you were to define it?
That's a great question, actually. Probably got really good at setting the big vision and then showing people that it actually can be done and it's possible.
It's like
and guiding them along the way.
belief in others to say this could happen.
And then show them that it can actually be done. Like when I say I'm going to do something, I go execute until it's done, and then they watch me do it. They're like, okay, well, I'm going to go do this because he just showed me how to do it.
Wow.
And now I'm creating other leaders, which I think is what I'm probably best at now, is recreating myself.
Is that's the trick, right? To being a good leader, Dan. I mean, we talk about it all the time. What's the number one job of a CEO? Cast vision. What's the second thing? There's three things CEOs should do. We talk about this a lot. Cast vision, build the team, not run out of money, right?
Make sure and then I'll put a fourth one on that. Ooh. I would say marketing.
Yeah. Yeah, being able to market. Yeah, many times the CEO is going to be the first one to focus on marketing, especially smaller company CEOs.
Yeah.
And so like, and I just think about Dan when we work with companies, it's like, all right, we're coming in because they've hit this brick wall of I can't do any more myself, right?
Yeah.
And I think what Jonas, for you to have done what you've done in the last 4 years, you get that right. There's no other way around it. How do you duplicate yourself?
Yeah. And I just have this weird thing inside of me that I don't know how to shut off. Call it a gift, call it a curse, but it doesn't shut off.
And
Like
ladies and gentlemen, we're about to find out the real superpower here. It's this like
Yeah,
ability, this like it never shuts off. I just can't stop it.
it doesn't and it's been like that since I was young. Like I was always like the small kid, so I always had to outwork everyone. I had to be faster, I had to be stronger, I had to work harder just to keep up. And then I started passing the people who were bigger and stronger than me just by pure effort. So then, like even as like I was the youngest child, so I was always getting picked on by my brothers and sisters. That made me stronger as I grew up. So a lot of little things like that along the way. Like a good example of my freshman year in football, in high school, they're like, "Oh, when you guys come on varsity, there'll never be a Jonas Olson as a running back." Guess who started both ways? Junior and sophomore, or junior and senior year. I did, because I outworked everyone. Even at practice, I was showing up early. I was staying late. I was showing up early in the morning to go run, and then and there's my whole wrestling career. Like cut weight, be very strict on your diet, and put in the effort work there, and then yeah, just a lot of all those little things that just made me an extremely hard worker. My dad was a hard worker. He was up at 3, 4 o'clock in the morning every single day. So he was waking us up early. We were shoveling crap out of the horse stalls. We went to school, grew up on a farm. So there's a lot of things like that that came through that probably like made me who I am
Yeah.
today, right?
Yeah. So part of this superpower, not only this ability to inspire vision, and maybe by the way, this is a pretty lethal combination when you think about it, is this the combination of the ability to inspire others, to set the vision for others, to model that something can be done for others, and then to be able to build leaders while being super hardworking in the effort to do those things. Right. So
And I think that's what a lot of my guys know. Like they just know that whether they see me or not that day, they know I'm going to be up to work until 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. So they know that I'm out there working. So they just go out and work just as hard because they know that I'm right there with them. And I wouldn't make them do anything that I would never have done ever.
that's powerful. That's power. So, um, tell me about the first, like, because when you're very first getting started, right? You got your little thing in a small hometown, and you're all right. It's time for me to
Mm.
go move to the next piece.
Yeah.
That's a tricky transition. Talk to me about that
Yeah.
transition, and what were maybe some of the key moments for you when you're like, okay, it's time for me to kind of invest in the big dream now. Um,
Yeah. So yeah, going back, to my mentor, I told him like I want to go to this town, this town, this town, this town, this town, and eventually I want to be in Green Bay, which is the biggest, closest town to me. Like so, all these towns like 14,000 people. So I'm gonna go take over like 5 of these small towns, and eventually go into Green Bay. And he's like, "Well, why Green Bay?" And I told him, "Well, it's the biggest, closest city next to me where I can still get back home to my family." And he said, "Well, why wouldn't you just go there first?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, good point." So COVID forced me into doing that, and I had a really good background in marketing already. I'd already learned a lot about it. And then taking all those tools that I used to build my first business and put it into the second one. I mean, even down to the color scheme of what I wanted my trucks to look like, the pink colors being different than everyone else that's green. I want to be pink. And I was in a new town, I want to stand out. Then it's the door hangers, it's the yard signs, it's the Facebook, it's the Google, like all looking like a good brand, and then putting our sales guys out there. So it wasn't just one piece of the puzzle.
mm.
It was everything that I had learned in the first business, the first 12 years, that I could start day one on my second
Yeah.
business.
So I'm sure there are people listening that are asking themselves the question, all right, cool. I get it. Will you slow down and give me that list one more time of all of the things I should be maybe
Yeah.
paying attention to, or lessons you'd learned that where you said, all right, this was a transitionary lesson for me where I learned all these, kind of made all these mistakes, and now I got a
Yeah.
chance to clean slate, do it right. What would be your list of
Yeah.
maybe top 5 things that you're like, okay, here's what I'd be focused on?
I would keep it simple and just, again, keep it simple like you said. And don't go after the whole town at once.
Mhm.
Just narrow it down, 3, 4, 5 communities where you're gonna have some accounts in, and just double your efforts in those. Like, cause now, like, to say you put out door hangers, and you say every door direct mail, then they start seeing your lawn signs and your trucks, and then you, like I said, you're doing every door direct mail campaigns, and all of a sudden your sales guys come through there a week later, like you're at 7, 8, 9 touch points already, and your guys are talking to them face to face now. Like you're already building a reputation in that community.
How so we made that mistake, Jonas. I think you and I probably
I did too.
have the
Yeah,
same
yeah,
mentor. Are you referring to
of course,
Jonathan Potoshnik?
of course.
Okay, yeah. And I'm in the Charlotte market, And something that we've learned, I mean, Charlotte's 3 million people within 45 to 60 minutes from our shop, right? And so, the reality, but then I also live in a town that has 6,000 people and one stop sign, and it's 20 minutes from downtown Charlotte. So there's all these little fractional towns, right? These little small towns around this big metropolitan area. But probably the biggest mistake we made, if you're a young and up and coming company, is if you're in one of these larger markets or you're near one, is to resist marketing to too large of an area. And that's kind of what you mentioned there. It's like, you know, how do you just market to like 400,000 of those people? Like find a
Right.
good little, 400 to 500,000 person area and just really dominate that market and then go out from that. If
Yeah.
you're a lot of us started with a mowing company, right? We had mowing as a division. I did as well. And I had to stay real tight with that one because you can't drive very far and make money mowing. It's just impossible. But then when I got into fertilization of weed control and started doing that service, I was like, well, I can drive a little further. The reality is you can, but it probably doesn't make much sense because your marketing dollar gets diluted, right? And
Yep.
and that's what I found. And I think we really struggled with marketing fertilization of weed control only for us. We don't do pest control. So we're 100% fertilization weed control. And that dollar just gets diluted. And so if you're listening to this, and one of the first things, it all comes down to marketing, right? I mean, it's all great. We
Yeah.
have all the greatest processes in the world, but if we can't get clients, like, that is one of the first things we got to tackle. Resist the urge if you're in a large metropolitan area to try to go after too much. And if you're in a really small market, you need to have a strategy. Like when I dominate this one, what's my next market? Because you can't. I've talked to clients in the past that had 20,000 people around them. Like all right, what's next after that market? So
Yeah.
we see those as, I mean, all across, right? We're either going to have a really large area, or we're going to have a really really small market. It doesn't seem to be too much in between. The advantage to the small area is you can probably dominate that one pretty easily with Google and things like
Very.
that. Um,
Very.
but yeah, that was something, as you mentioned. Don't go too far out of that area. Really find a really good small area and dominate it.
Yeah, and even on social media, like just go after those neighborhoods. Don't go crazy. Just stick to those neighborhoods. Retarget those neighborhoods. And Facebook is so good at get your exact algorithm that you need and all the people that your target geographic. Like use Facebook as a good tool to see what your actual customer avatar looks like.
Yeah, I love
Yeah.
that. So walk me through you because we listed the three things for a CEO. You listed a fourth, which is marketing, which means
Yeah.
and I'm getting the sense that you're pretty good at that side of the business. So give me, kind of a quick state of the union from your perspective. And you're primarily pest control. Do a good bit of fertilization weed control, but you're squirt and fur kind of company. And in that arena, what's your state of the union as far as what's working in marketing right now to really kind of set you apart from your competitors?
That's great. Obviously, we do some door to door, which is always good. It's not the end all be all. Like I hate to tell people just go build a team and have sales guys out there because it's way harder than what it looks like. But it does work. It's very good. And then so that'd be up there. Facebook's a good one. Always good to be on Facebook. Again, they're really really good at finding your target demographic. Definitely should be spending some money there. Google LSA has been good for us too. Google in general has been good to us this year. And then
So
just
this is
we
this is
talked a little
Google
bit
ad
before the
spend,
podcast.
Google organic.
Yep, all of the above. And then kind of what we were talking about a little before the podcast was a lot of people still aren't on YouTube and they still are not on TikTok. And I'm not a TikToker. I don't have TikTok. I don't scroll Google Shorts. This isn't who I am. But we're definitely on the platforms. And a lot of people know me because of that. Our channels just on there. So I was down in Florida 2 weeks ago at a conference. I was talking to this guy. And we were just chatting. He's like, "What do you do?" And I just told him. He's like, "God." He's like, "What?" He's like, "He's from Canada, not in this totally different industry. He does. He works for Ford, doing communications or something like that. He's like, God, what do you do again? I'm like, I do pest control. He's like, out of nowhere, he's like, do you have a YouTube channel? And I was like, yeah, why? He's like, that's how I know you.
Internationally known.
It's crazy. It's crazy. And it was never meant to be that way. I didn't expect it to happen. I mentioned Jonathan's name, Aaron. Jonathan saw us 7 years ago to get videos done.
Yeah.
So I finally started a year and a half ago. I'm like, I'm just going to go on in this YouTube channel and see what happens. And now I think we're like 140,000 subs on there. I make money off YouTube. TikTok's like 70,000. And what I didn't know would happen is two things, though. One, I didn't realize the power of Google, right? It owns YouTube. So organically, we rank 60% higher than the nearest pest control or lawn care company in our area.
Okay, I just want to pause on that for a minute. I just want to let that notion sink in deeply into the souls of our listeners here, because the Google is the new Yellow Pages. It is how people find businesses to work with. So it used to be we would put AA in front of our names when we were doing the Yellow Pages, and that meant we got more calls than our competitors, because we were the first name that people came across when they were searching the Yellow Pages. Well, now in marketing, what percentage is it, do you think, does an organic search for pest control company near me? Is it 80% of people that are shopping that way? It has to be a high percentage.
I'd say, yeah. And even a lot of that, like the newer, younger generation, just asking AI, hey, what's the best lawn care company in our area?
And
so ChatGPT.
And we have.
So if you guys who aren't using that, start playing with
it. And it's really the golden ticket. Like, if you can be well ranked in organic search on Google, you win. You win.
Yeah.
And you're telling, this is like an epiphany for me. I don't think I really clearly understood this. You're saying, hey, listen, my involvement with YouTube, a Google subsidiary, is helping me win on Google organic search.
Absolutely. Again, if you search my name or search turf badger or pest badger in an area, the first thing that happens is videos pop up. So then people are watching these videos, scrolling through, and I'm teaching them how to do pest control. They get to our page, they fill out a form, we get them on the phone, or they send us in a form link, we call them back, and then again, we're closing about 80% in the office. And we've raised prices, trust me, we know all that, but they're just closing them because they already trust us.
Yeah.
They've already consumed so much content. Like, they're probably not going to go do it themselves, but when they're ready to buy, who do you think they're going to call? They're going to call us because they've consumed all my content. They know me by first name.
Yeah. And it's interesting because, I mean, I don't think this will be a revelation, but I had a guy locally, we did some videos this spring, and he goes, I mean, why were you telling me how to do it? You even told me what product to buy. And I was like, because 80% of people aren't going to go buy it. They're not going to go do it. They just want to know, what you're talking about. And the guy that is, or girl that's going to go buy it, let them. They're not my client.
Perfect. Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, exactly.
I just
and you just help someone out along the way.
Right. Yep. Right. And we have a saying, Jonas, that money follows help. Right. So whether we're coaching or whether we're doing pest control or lawn fertilization or mowing, like, help people. Actually help them first before they give you money. Just help them. And then, what's funny is they'll just want to do business with you. They'll trust you. Yeah. You better be genuine about it, right? Don't be fake. But yeah, I mean, I think that's important as you're doing content. Just help people. Tell them how you're doing it. Like, listen, I was with a client last week and we were talking about, there really is no, we don't have a competitive advantage with lawn care. There hasn't been a, revolutionary product that's come out. Like, there's some people throw some things out there that they think are, but the reality is we're all pretty much doing the same thing. What makes us different? It's, it's going to be videos. It's going to be customer service. It's going to be, do your trucks stand out in the market? Do you call people back? Do you answer your phone live? Like, all these things are pretty simple. But kudos to you for doing them and making an effort. I mean, I think you probably, I'm just curious, how many videos are you posting a day, a week? What's the goal?
So currently we're posting one a day. So 6 days a week, but I want to double or triple that going forward, probably from next week forward.
Take me to the moment. I want to know the moment, the equivalent of knocking on Kathy's house when it came to recording your first video. Because I feel like it's so
They're bad
and awful.
Yeah,
That first time you
it's
stand in
terrible.
front of a camera and you're like, "Hi everyone, my name is Dan."
You can actually go. You can actually go on and my YouTube and look back to the old stuff from like 10 years ago. It's so bad, and I still look to stuff like 5, 6 months ago. Like, God, that's terrible. But I just keep getting better at it, And now it just gets to the point where it's just natural. I just get used to it, and I know I know what I'm going to say. It's scripted out for me. We already have the videos in place. It's easier now. Plus, I have a team to help me too. But yeah, so like first 10, 15, 20 videos, maybe the first 100 videos were absolutely garbage. But then going back and learning from them. And so I still remember there was this aerating video. I bought a new aerator. It's a dumb video. We hit like 1,000, like 5,000, 3,000 views, whatever. And then I went and did this aerator video. I'm like, hey, I just bought a new aerator. I've never used it before. Come check this thing out. And so just me hopping on this thing. I started up and I turned around. I literally never used it before, ever. I've used mowers and stuff and know how to use it, but I've never used it. So I'm like trying to figure it out as I'm doing it. That was the first video that got over 100,000 views. I'm like, why? That's so dumb. Like I just didn't get it. So, but then if you watch it and you watch what I say and watch what happens, like it all kind of made sense to me. And the light bulb clicked. Like, that's what they're looking for. So then I just tried to recreate that several times with edging videos just for fun. We have a couple of edging videos that did over 10 million views. So it's just finding what works and then doubling down on that.
Did you have moments along in that videos that you were like, these are terrible? And there wasn't, and honestly, probably for the first little while, it's okay if you do bad videos because nobody's watching them anyway.
Well, it's demoralizing though, right? Because you're like, you post videos like, oh, I got 500
views. That was my question. How did
the next was like 300 views.
How did you decide? How did you keep going? Like at what point did you just say, we're going to do this no matter what for as long as it takes?
Yeah. And so not having TikTok and not having YouTube shorts on your phone is money. Because like you didn't really know. But then I have to log back into my laptop to go look at them, to see what was working and what's not. But I don't have it on my phone to see what was actually happening. And then you go sit down and like, oh, this sucks. And I'm like, they always just say, just stick to it, right? But I knew going into it, day one, I said, okay, Jonathan always said that this is not the short-term play, it's a long-term play. So just know it's going to take at least 18 months. And we got there, not there, but we got like 100,000 subs in like just over a year. But again, a couple big videos that went viral. They brought in 28 to 38,000 subs themselves.
I'm sitting here thinking while you're talking about videos, it's pretty relatively low cost. I mean,
it's cheap. It's
right.
Our biggest videos all came from this right here.
Yeah,
an iPhone.
Yeah, and so like, I'm thinking about Dan, the clients we coach, right? What's the number one thing they want from us?
Leads.
They want that. They're like, we can't figure out marketing. And the reality is we're not there to be marketing experts for them. We're actually teaching leadership and those types of things. But, I'm sitting here listening to this. I'm like, if you are a struggling lawn care company, if you are just getting started, start making content.
Yep.
Like
you have content everywhere you go, everything that you do.
And
whether you're up on top of someone's roof one day, getting a bat out, or if you're mowing lawns to see your Daniel, whatever. There's so much content. Just turn on the hardest part. Turn on your phone and just talking. Record.
And if you can't, but the reality is, Dan, we've got companies that would like spend thousands of dollars that some of them don't even have, or like, how do I get? I mean, I guess I could come up with $600, which is it's nothing in the marketing world. A month to pay an agency just to do it for me. So I don't have to put myself out there and I don't have to be responsible, and it's like, you're missing, and you just said in 18 months, you could go from, no one in your market to the expert. And as crazy as this is, Jonas, is like, people still aren't taking advantage of this in the markets.
No. And that's what I'm saying. Like people are like, oh, well, there's too many people doing it. Like, okay, you see like 30 of the same people doing it over and over and over again. Half those, like, honestly, just half those people went on and copied what I did. That's what it's out there for. Like, why go recreate something? Just copy what I did.
Yeah.
If you watch enough videos, you'll get the algorithm. You'll
What
get
do you
it.
think the
Just
what do
go
you
do
think
it.
the like what do you think the hesitance is? Because you probably talk to a lot of guys say go do it and they don't.
It's
Is it
they don't
just
want to put
ego?
themselves
Kind of
out.
like exactly. They're nervous to sit on. Again, it's like a podcast or whatever. They don't want to be on camera.
Well,
But like,
Jonas,
it's not the best product that wins. It's the best known product that wins. So it doesn't matter how great your service is. If they don't know you're out there, they don't know you exist. They're never gonna find you.
how many like it's the haters too, Dan. Like I'll admit it.
Oh yeah,
I
I
can't
get it all
stand
the
it
time.
when some smart ass, comes on a
Yeah.
video and makes some and I just like, man, ugh. And that'll derail you if you're not careful, right? I mean, and
So
that is probably the biggest thing that holds people back is the
it is.
naysayers who are gonna cut the keyboard cowboys that are sitting in their mom's basement, never done anything in their life. They're worthless piece of craps. Let's be honest. That's who they
Mhm.
are, and
I mean,
they're
if you
commenting
go,
on your
I
videos.
only know because people will like screenshot them and
Yeah,
send it to me. But Joe Rogan said it best: just post and ghost. Don't ever look back.
post and go. Yeah,
And so
I
I
love
remember
it.
Posting
hearing
ghost.
that. I'm like, because I fell into that trap early on.
Yeah,
Like I was like reading all the comments and trying to comment back, and it's like, don't. He's like, just post and ghost. Post it and just move on with your day. Don't look back. It's demoralizing. Again, they just most of them haven't done anything with their lives, or the keyboard cowboys, like you said, and they're trying to take you down with them. But again, if you don't have haters, you're not doing something right. So just keep pushing forward.
yeah,
I mean, look at the biggest influencers in the world. Like anyone famous, they all have haters. So
yeah. But that's the key. That's the thing that holds us back
it
is
is. Yeah.
and I think the industry as a whole are pretty humble dudes, right? And it's
They
mainly
are.
dudes. I'm
Yeah.
not trying to exclude women. If
Yeah.
you're a woman in here, I'm not trying to exclude you, but we're pretty humble guys and girls in this industry. And I think to think influencer is like not who this industry is. And I think that's the other thing. I mean, we're not trying to like we're just trying to feed our families and be, we're just good old guys trying to make a living, get
Mhm.
get get our hands dirty. We're not the guys in front of the camera. Um, and the reality
We're
is some of the best content comes from just everyday guys. Those are the ones we really want to hear from. We don't want to hear from the fake guys. Um,
yeah.
and
Well, do you remember being at the SA 2 and 3 conference, or 3 and 4? They had that. They had, I think they had that guy who wrote the book. They Ask You Answer.
yeah,
So there's a book called They Ask You Answer. Like literally, that's the strategy. Read the book and follow the strategy.
yeah,
It's all about River City Pools. Built a big pool company just about making content.
Yep. And I think it's important to honor your imperfection when you're recording video is what makes you good. It's not the
Exactly.
other way around. Don't become polished. I was chatting with a woman who is a world renowned thought leader in her industry. She said, I have to pretend to not know, not be polished so people believe me. Like, so she literally is like
So
doing the opposite, where she's like trying to sound less polished because when she sounds super polished, nobody believed her or connected with her.
yeah, same thing with the editing style. Like the better we made our videos, the worse views we got.
mm-hmm.
So again, just pick up your phone, hit record. Especially with iPhones, I don't know about Samsung these days, but iPhones you can edit it pretty easy, and then just post it. It's most of them, like especially YouTube, they love the organic posts from your phone. So they make software so you just take one video, post it, and post it to all of them. I would say do that for
What software are
99%,
you
but
using for
Google
that
just.
specifically?
I honestly couldn't
Oh
even
yeah,
tell you. We switched so many times. I have a team doing it now. I could get it
that's
for you
right.
though, for sure.
Because
But there's a
there
bunch of
are a
them.
lot of tools out there. I'm trying to think of specific ones, but essentially, for those of you who don't know, you can upload a video to that tool, and that tool then
Yep,
basically
posted
distributes
all of
it
them.
to all of the social media platforms, TikTok, YouTube Reels, all of that stuff. And
Yeah, I would say do that for all of them except for YouTube. They love the organic posts from your phone.
this is really interesting.
I've hired YouTube coaches along the way, so I've learned a lot through them now at this point. But yeah, just pick up your phone and do it.
That's cool. All right. We could talk about this all day. I find it incredibly fascinating.
Good.
Again, the spirit of this from a leadership standpoint, if I'm the CEO sitting on my couch today, listening to this, let's face it, you're not on your couch, you're driving somewhere listening to this. Um, the strategy is, hey, listen, I want to increase my Google organic search rating so I can be in the map pack be one of those top 3 companies that's listed and rated there. I'm going to make sure I have good 5-star reviews because that's also going to be really important. I may ask you about that and just I'm queuing you up for that. And one of the strategies I can use is by creating organic content specifically to YouTube, but TikTok and others, so that Google knows, hey, listen, this is somebody who's relevant, who people are paying attention to, and as a result, I know they're connected to this business over here. I'm gonna boost that business so that they're able to be more successful, because that gives me more confidence as Google to recommend them because I know people like them. Because Google is essentially a popularity contest. So the more people like you, the more they're gonna put you in front of them.
The other takeaway, real quick, before we leave this, if you're listening, and you want to think next level, if you just notice, and Jonas is not trying to big time us, but he has passed off most of the task of producing this work. And to the point where he's like, I'm not sure what editing tool we're using. That is not a big time move. He's not trying to big time the audience here. He's elevated. He's a good CEO. He has elevated the task of creating the content. He's still behind the camera. He pops in real quick, does the videos, gets out, and someone else is taking care of it.
And
is that pretty accurate?
Did you say you're doing them once a day, once a week, or once a month or something?
No, typically it's about 8 hours a month is what it takes me right now to do all my content.
Are you doing that in one block, or are you doing that in multiple blocks?
It depends on the scenario, but typically multiple blocks. Yeah. Okay. It's like even for the podcast too, I take a day, it's the same day every week, and I just go record. Yep. So that way it gets in my schedule. It doesn't take much of my time.
Yeah. And so he has, I think that's a big takeaway here. Not only the task of doing it. And so we have this thing where I say this a lot, where a lot of times we want to hire people to fix our businesses, right? Yeah. And you're not going to hire someone to fix your business. You have to fix your business because you're the only one that really cares about your business deep down. Like, you're the only owner. If you're the only owner, you're the only one who cares. You have to fix it, develop the process, system and process to do whatever you're doing that's important to you. In this case, it would be the videos. It's a very vital part of your success. And then build as that grows. And as I'm sure you have an org chart and all those things, as that has grown, you have developed seats to take that work away from you. And now you're to the point where, I'm sure you'll be in front of the camera for a long time, but you may have a strategy that, gets other people in front of the camera at some point. Who knows? But
yeah. And I think that's even my technicians will get more involved too, which is good. And we have 30 some technicians out there. Some of them are very good at getting content because they love it. Then we just run a competition. Whoever has the best content at the end of the week, they'll give them $25, so everyone sends me their content. So I have B-roll for days. Mm-hmm. And then when it comes to the content side, usually we already have it all mapped out of what the videos are going to do. They have what I'm going to say. They send me the script, what we're going to talk about, and I read it real quick. Not word for word, and then they just hit record.
Yeah.
And then I stay in front of the camera. It's like a couple hours long, and then I walk away from never see it.
And by the way, this is big production stuff. If you're little, it's just you and the camera hanging out, posting it.
For sure.
Super easy. So know that this evolves and grows, and eventually, Jonas, but not yet.
Yeah, but as you're starting,
just get yourself your iPhone and even a lav mic for $30. Bluetooth lav mic goes and plugs in your iPhone. Put it on your shirt. A little bit better quality sound than if your phone's up further away. So
it's.
It doesn't take much.
The key is to get in the game. And that's what I think one of the big things I've learned so far is that the fact that there was 100 bad videos before the good ones started. And you got to do the 100.
Sure.
And it's just kind of the price of admission a little bit.
Who is it that says 10,000 hours to become an expert? I mean, it's Gladwell or
Gladwell, maybe.
Something that Aaron said about the haters. I remember seeing a quote a long time ago too. Big quote guy, but I said 99% of the people don't live the life they live because they care what others think. And especially Aaron, when you come from a town of 6,000, 14,000 people, you literally know everyone. So as soon as you start getting a little bit further ahead, the hate just comes naturally.
In Australia,
they're always there to help you and support you and cheer you on until you got a little bit bigger than they are. Well,
they call it. They actually have a name for it in Australia. They call it tall poppy syndrome. And tall poppy syndrome means when the flower grows a little taller than everyone else, then they cut it off. And in Australia, it's a real thing, and I think it is true. Yeah, and so you want to surround yourself. This is one of the reasons why I love my podcast. I get to hang out with somebody like Jonas. where it's like you want to surround yourself with people who are ballers, who are players, who are trying to grow. This is why you listen to podcasts like this, so you can get this kind of vibe. It's like what you come to learn is that very soon, as you're hanging out with other great people, like you mentioned your mentor several times, where it's like, hey, I'm hanging around people who are giving me and uplifting me, and
iron sharpens iron.
Iron sharpens iron. All right, so I mean, I just am so fascinated by you now that I've gotten to know you a little bit. I'm like, we should just be on, have like a series of Jonas Olson series on our podcast. Might be, that'd be a good idea.
Well, there's going to be part two.
Yeah, we talked about this, right? So we're going to go on to pest control millionaire, which is so. Oh, that's a good point. Let me just bring it up now so I don't forget. So Jonas Olson has a great podcast called Pest Control Millionaire. If you're listening to this, you're a pest control, you're a podcast. You can see how I'm like, oh, I'm probably going to start listening to Pest Control Millionaire because I want to like get more and more of this. I feel like I'm not there yet. So all of that to set up the fact that we need to listen to more of you. But the question I want to ask is, I mean, in this last few minutes, like our audience are hardworking people who are trying to learn to be better CEOs. They're trying to be better at the business side of this. I'm just going to give you little freedom here, a little space here to talk to them about what it means to be a great CEO, and what counsel, what advice, what lesson learned have you had along the way where you go, yeah, man, this has probably been my insight that might surprise you about what it might over my journey over the last 10 years or so.
Yeah. So back when we all started in this industry, there wasn't podcasts. YouTube was pretty new. So we didn't have these platforms to listen to. So I've always had a learner's mindset. As soon as like, I'll be the first one doing it. Through high school, college, I never checked out a single book in my library ever, unless I was like forced to. I'm going to take a library book. But I probably forgot it at home anyway. Forgot to bring it back. But then once I got into the game and I wanted to start learning something, again, that's something that just doesn't shut off. So I got heavy into reading, read biographies of people who've done big things with their lives, listen to a lot of podcasts. I would say I just have that learner's mindset, constantly learning something new every single day. Whether that's you're out in the field working and you learn a mistake, cool, you learn something that day. Or if you're listening to a podcast while you're riding on your mower or weeding or spraying lawns, whatever, just constantly trying to learn. And then the shortcut to all this is just hire a coach like you guys, that's the shortcut.
No,
we didn't pay him for that.
Yeah,
either.
that's free.
But it's real.
No, it is real.
Matter.
Like I've been actually really surprised at that phenomena, that the people that I've really admired, I've been surprised at how teachable they are. Like I thought it would be the other way around. I thought they would want to be the teachers, but the good ones have wanted to be the learners.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And in fact,
and if you're the smartest person in the room, change the room.
True or false?
Yeah.
Have you been taking notes during this podcast?
I have right here. Yeah.
All right. So I've seen this happen like a couple of times. Something would be said and he would just lean over and take a little note. And I just blown my mind a little bit, because I think that may be superpower number 3 that we're learning from you. The first is, hard work, this this willingness to just kind of dig in and dive in and model, the ability to share vision. But I'd say a third superpower that I'm learning as I'm listening to you and getting to know you is this learner's mindset, where no matter where I go, I have this opportunity to learn something. And I think that's really consistent amongst successful entrepreneurs that I've met, is this ability to really kind of learn it all mindset. So I hear the voice of one of the people who is listening right now going, all right, where do I start? Like, can you list specific resources, specific books that you'd go, man, if I were digging in right now, where would I get started?
Ooh, that's a tough one. There's so many good books out there, but it depends what you want to learn, right? So there's so
there was
much.
One person who said, yeah, asking me about my favorite book is like asking me about my favorite meal.
Yeah, it's like, it depends where they want to be. Like we were talking about marketing, there's books on marketing. Talk about sales, there's books on sales. Talk about business, there's books on business. Like I don't even know if I have a favorite book at this point. There's just so many. Like Alex Hermosi's book has been hot in my mind like the past year. Like I love what he's doing, copying that model. Like I love like everything that he does is just next level. Patrick Bet-David, he has some really good books out there that like the next 5 moves. Blue Ocean Strategy, another good business book. You have to get through the first 30 pages. It's terrible. and then after that, it's gold. A lot of really good books out there.
Yeah.
Traction is probably my all-time favorite book. It's a really, really good book. I could learn the EOS model. I know you guys run a similar model to that. So when you get into business, you're not there yet. Start thinking about that stuff. Because I know you guys do something similar. We've been doing EOS for probably, I don't know, 5 or 6, 7 years in a row in Park City. When we started, we had no implementers around here. The closest implementer flew into Milwaukee, which is still 4 hours. So we self-implemented, not perfect, but we've done a really good job of it.
Good.
I love it.
And that's essentially like without that, I'm glad you brought that up, Jonas, because there's no chance. I mean, I'm on your website and I can't even count how many locations you guys have. How many is it total?
I think 10.
10. Okay. And I mean, you're serving a lot of cities too. And so, 10 locations, there's zero chance that you scale to there without something like EOS or a leadership rhythm.
Yep.
Right. And so shameless plug here. What I tell people all the time, Dan, that we teach, we don't have special pills that we hand out. We don't have like a special bullet. We have a special rhythm. And if you commit to the rhythm, and then once you commit to the rhythm, then you have to commit to the work you said you were going to do. Hold yourself accountable to that. You can go scale whatever you want. And it reminds me of something that I heard Warren Buffett say on a video I saw a couple weeks ago. Keep in mind, Warren Buffett, obviously everybody knows him as one of the wealthiest people in the world, but he's actually probably the best evaluator of businesses. His entire net worth comes because he evaluated a strong business that was a little undervalued, and he bought that business and held it forever.
That's his CEO. Kind of his CEO superpower is his ability to see and evaluate the value in a business.
And this was the question he had. He by the way, if I were going to like say, go watch videos on someone, I think he would be one of the people I would recommend people just go listen to the guy talk. And he, by the way, he's been very generous with his time. There's probably hours and hours and hours of Warren Buffett answering questions. He's a super generous dude. Cool. So he had this young student at a business school was asking a question. He said, listen, if I took away all your money and all you had was $1 million, which, if you're listening to this, you're probably rolling your eyes, but this guy's worth how many 100 and some million now or something like that. But a billion, 100 and some billion, but all you had was $1 million. How quickly could you double that? And how quickly could you tell me how to double that? And this was the answer to his question. And I've heard Steve Jobs say something similar. He said, well, I don't care about the money. I would double it very quickly, but I don't care about the money. I love the process of evaluating businesses so much that I would do things that you would probably find very boring and mundane, and I love it. And so as a result, I could make money very easily, but I don't care about the money. I love the process. And Steve Jobs says something. He says, like, you have to be crazy to be an entrepreneur because it's so hard and it's so difficult that if you don't love it, like if you're not super passionate about it, you would quit. Like any sane person would stop the moment it got hard. And so if you're listening to this right now, I posted this yesterday and I gave a talk about this a few weeks ago. I think, and Jonas, tell me if you think this sounds familiar. I think that a lot of business, because you talk to a lot of business owners, right? And I think a lot of business owners sign up for an Ironman event with a 5K fun run mentality.
For sure.
And you think that this is like, you see Jonas after he's made it. And, Dave Ramsey says, we're just all a bunch of failures standing on our success. You can see our success because we're standing on this huge pile of failure. Like we have gotten our asses kicked and beat so many times that we're just like, we love pain. And if you're listening to this right now and you're like thinking about quitting because like some lady called and blessed you out because you sucked, and like somebody quit this week, and you had to find another person, and like you're just like ready to give up. Like you probably should give up because you don't belong in this business. It's hard. Like this
Very
it
hard.
sucks more than it's good.
So I have a question.
And I
I have kind of a
like
random question based on that comment, Aaron, for Jonas.
yeah.
Name a couple of mundane, boring things you have to do that you go, this sucks. I hate this part of what I do, but I do it because I know that this is what the business is requiring of me. Because I think we talk too much
That's a
about the
great question.
fancy, sexy stuff.
Yeah.
But talk to me about some of the boring, mundane stuff that you do that either is rhythmed or consistent, are parts of the business.
In the last couple of podcasts that I've been on, they're like, okay, so what's next for Jonas Olson? Like more of the same boring stuff. As much as it sounds like, oh, we're going to go reinvent the world, which we are. It's just like it's showing up every single day, doing the same thing over and over and over again. Like I am, my schedule is to a T. Like I'd be probably easy to murder because like I walk out my house at the same time, the same day, walk the same path the same day, go to the gym at the same time. Like it's just more of the same routine over and over and over again.
Like
yeah.
It's everything.
I had one
it's just
CEO
like it's your meetings.
I had a
everything.
friend who described one CEO that was very successful as being able to drip a hole in a rock.
Mm-hmm.
That it was
For
the
real.
consistency. It was the same routine over and over that allowed him to be successful. And
That's what it takes.
I guess that kind of makes sense, right? Because if I were to get healthy, it wouldn't be how good I am in the gym on one day. It would be
every single
how
day.
many days in a row was I at the gym.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's something that Aaron said. Like everyone sees me as successful. I don't. Like I feel like we're just getting rolling, and that my dreams are so big. Like I still feel like it's not fast enough. It's still not good enough. Like that's just how I feel. So when he says like I'm successful, I just maybe others see that because we do big numbers or whatever. But there's just so much room that I want to improve on, like personally, in business. Like I feel like we're still so small yet, and we have a lot of runway to go. Second thing, you mentioned something about people just like they get beat up and then like want to quit. And I travel around the country seeing these companies, and they get to about $1 million in revenue, and then the owner is like absentee. Like, what do you mean? Like you're at $1 million. You haven't been in your office in 3-4 months. Like, what do you mean? Like, it's just not how. It's not reality. And we all have different goals, right? But the people who say they want to grow, it takes showing up every single day. And if you want to have a lifestyle business doing $1 million here, there's nothing wrong with it. But it's those people who want to have a bigger company, want to do bigger things that just don't show up every day. Like,
so
get back to work.
As a coach, Jonas, I will tell someone in a heartbeat, don't tell me you want one thing and show me another. I'll call you out.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
you need to be honest with yourself. Like,
just what do you want?
What do you want?
At the end of the day, what do you want? Yeah.
And that's hard. Like I have a client that comes to mind right now who's really struggling with that. And, and he runs an amazing company. And I think he's really wrestling with where do I go right at this point? Because he's, just over 3 million. He's got tons of money in the bank. He's debt free, wonderful company, like some of the best cogs I've ever seen. And, but he also is like, well, do I go to 10 million?
But then it's easy, right? But then it's easy. You get stuck right there, and it's like, oh, we got this money in the bank. We're doing really good. Like life's good.
Yeah.
Like why would I want to push?
I think my best advice for people that are starting businesses, because I think we all got into business to make money, right? Because like there's probably like at some point it's all about money, but the reality is it's not. And we know people don't work for money.
If it's all about the money, they would quit.
Yeah, I mean, and so there's a lot of moral and ethical things that I won't do no matter how much you pay me. And I'm sure Jonas, you're the same way, and Dan's the same way.
Absolutely.
So like at the end of the day, we have to either fall in love with the process. We have to be motivated by helping the people around us. I've got a really cool company I worked with last week, and the owner is super motivated to build up the people around him. And he's got big dreams. I mean, they're on a big mission, and it's so exciting to see. And he's like, I'm not doing this. And he's not living an extravagant lifestyle, and he's all about his team. And that's really cool. And I do think that I hit a plateau at one point with my business where it was like, whoa, like what do I do next? Because I don't need any more money. I don't care to,
Yeah.
my life's not gonna be that much better if my income
Right.
doubles. And then what? Like, and I think I had to reinvent the purpose of like making it more than just myself and my immediate family and others. And so Jonas, what is the dream? Like, I've heard you mention this vision. Like, what is the, do you want to say it out loud?
Just
Can you
more
say
of
it to
the
the,
more of the boring, same old boring stuff again and again.
That's what it is. And we want to have 150,000 clients the next 5 years.
Okay, cool.
And I don't care if that's 20 locations. I don't care if that's 1,000. Whatever it takes to get there.
Love it.
That's the next 5 years.
I had one person that said, it's too many entrepreneurs. It's not that they're dreaming too big. It's that they're dreaming too small. And I love hearing that. I love hearing that.
I was the same way, because one of the first things that JP told me was think bigger. First thing he told me, get young kids, small community, never been out of the UP. All of a sudden I'm in Dallas, Texas. I'm like, holy man, there's a lot of money here. And I just, that's when my life changed. I'm like, oh man, I can do this. And then I'm not tooting myself on the horn. I'm not saying that. I had a really good mentor. I learned along the way. And then I go sit around with some of these CEOs that are doing really big things, that have been doing it for a long time. And every time that I do that, I get more, get a little bit more swag to me, because I'm like, man, I feel like I'm better than these people.
Why not? Why not you? Right? Why not me?
Why not me?
Why not us?
Yeah, why not me?
Yeah.
And it's so hard to like say like, well, they're just better than me. They're whatever. They're growing a bigger company and blah blah blah. But then I go sit next to them, have a conversation with them, like,
Nope.
Okay, I got this.
Yes.
And we also know that like all quote unquote self-made. I don't know that everybody's self-made, because none of us are really self-made. There's some higher powers involved. I believe that
I agree.
Awesome people. Like if I don't find a YouTube video one Friday afternoon at 3:30 after a horrible day at work that shows this lawn care millionaire guy, I'm not here today. There's no chance.
Right.
There's been awesome people that have come around in my life that, have been great friends and mentors. But at the end of the day, like, people who don't come from wealth or don't have a silver spoon, we know that the majority of millionaires are 80% of them are first generation millionaires. And so the data will prove that. And the second generation usually blows it. So
Absolutely.
and then, most CEOs of like the larger companies, right? Fortune 500 companies, like the majority of them got degrees from like state schools. Like they're not typically from the Harvards and people like that. Like and so we know that average people succeed in this world. I think we go back to the videos and why we don't make videos and why we don't put ourselves out there is we don't think we're worthy. And I think half the battle is just saying, I can,
syndrome.
yes, I can say this out loud that, Dan, I mean, honestly, we started coaching. I was like, can I really help companies? Like, I don't know if I can help companies or not. Why? After 28 years of doing some dumb stuff, I can just tell you the things not to do and it'll save you,
absolutely,
10 years.
Let's say like the 4% of all businesses get over $1 million.
Right. Yeah.
So I think maybe
this
is a good kind of rounding out spot for us, even though I wish we could keep chatting. It's a little Ted Lasso. It's a little like let's just believe, man. Like, let's believe that this can happen. And whatever that takes for you to be the scrawny freshman and go, no, I'm refusing I'm refusing the label that someone put on me. I'm refusing the label that my parents, that high school bully, that girl who rejected me in high school put on me. And I'm going to claim something else, a different label. That requires a ton of work, a ton of learning, a ton of effort. But it's available to us if we choose.
Yeah. And I would say that a couple of things happened to me in the last 5 years, 4 years. One, I quit drinking 4 years ago. That got me laser focused. I couldn't do what I'm doing today without stopping drinking. And then my dad got killed in a tragic accident a year and a half ago. November 15th, it'll be 2 years. And ever since that day, I remember the day, on my dad's funeral, the day, an hour before, I sat down and wrote my goals. And when I got to the funeral, I promised my dad I'd hit it. So I want to live out his legacy for him because he didn't get to. He got killed at a young age. So I feel like almost unstoppable because I know he's watching out for me.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is Jonas Olson. Jonas, thank you so much for being with us. Friends, this is the Lawn Care CEO. Our goal is to help others to do more good in the world. Jonas, thanks for helping us help others do more good.
Appreciate you having me.
Follow him at Pest Control Millionaire. It's available wherever your podcasts are sold.
Part 2 will be there.
Yeah, and we've already kind of committed that maybe we'll get on that podcast with him and we can do a part 2. So make sure to follow him, like, subscribe, all that stuff. Follow him on YouTube, if for no other reason to help him get more subscribers, so that way he can get better ranking on his Google organic search.
Yeah, for sure.
Didn't you go over what was the number you hit? Google sent you. Was it 100,000 subscribers?
100,000 subs. Yeah. We're the 4th largest pest control YouTube channel in the world.
Nice.
But it still bothers me because we can do number one.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for joining us. Thanks for listening to the Lawn Care CEO podcast. Go do good. Thanks, guys.